Hey, welcome everyone, and welcome to a new episode. Today's topic is a bit lengthy topic, but please just put on your headphones and just listen what is happening. Today's topic is about energy system, energy transition, and greenhouse gas emission. It's a very lengthy topic, but I thought that let me share my experience. Well, I have been following some esteemed guys now, and the notes that I have prepared. I didn't prepare any presentation because maybe I will share the notes and share the links, and then people who are interested in energy transition or energy systems, they can go through it. I have been doing some course. I am working in Shell right now in oil industry. I have been following Mr. Kang Ha. Then I have watched some energy economics and policy related videos, and currently I am doing my courses. Well, I am a data engineer and I want to do a transition to energy systems or an energy transition domain in Shell. So I have been doing some courses right now, and for that, finance and transition knowledge is a must. My master's is in transport and policy. But then, though I don't have any energy background, so I thought, why not? Okay, starting everyone, guys, and please feel to put your comments, and in between there will be some nice background music that I will be playing, because only when I am speaking and my tone, maybe it can bore you. But okay, so let's start. And I also used ChatGPT for some information. Then also followed some papers on of McKinsey, and then about hydrogen. But all these links will be available in the video itself. And lastly, this is my YouTube channel where I do a lot of videos about my travel, about my lifestyle, also about studies, about working, etc. etc. I also do invest in crypto. So yeah, if you have time, then follow it. Otherwise, just let it go. Okay, let's start. Well, there are multiple topics, so just don't go through my notes, just listen to me. We'll start with why we need energy, because energy, electricity, we need electricity. Electricity is produced from energy like coal, crude, by converting into different type of products and then producing electricity. Electricity is necessary because without electricity I cannot make this video. Without electricity I cannot study. Without electricity I don't have lights in my apartment. Without electricity, the infrastructure is very difficult to create also. So we need electricity and we need energy, but then the current energy system that we have, it is a matured system. For example, we have crude is creating diesel or petrol, then coal is also creating electricity, and then we also have some renewables. The current energy systems that we have is matured, but we don't have in control the CO2 emissions. And CO2 emission is a big problem now, because of CO2 emission there is a lot of problems. For example, the temperature, the global temperature, the climate temperature is increasing, and that is resulting in the rise in level of the sea. And also because of the emissions, there is pollution. There is sulfur dioxide from power sectors, nitrogen oxide from industries, and carbon monoxide from buildings and transport. And also the energy itself as a product, there is no energy justice now. Energy justice means everyone is receiving some form of energy for their daily living. So the goal of achieving justice in both social and economic participation in energy system, that is the goal. And it can be done towards by spreading out the benefits and helping the disadvantaged communities, and supporting them with or facilitating them with all kind of support, energy related support that they need. For example, electrical grids, the electrical power is reaching to rural villages of many parts of India, like or Africa or USA also, or Europe also. Then in energy justice we have to do justice to environment and do climate. So not only we have to take care of the socio part, the social part, but also climate and the environmental part. So energy justice is also included in this topic, so we'll go through it. Then coming to the energy transition itself, it's not a novel concept, but the idea is that to reduce carbon dioxide emission, the government of the world, or the governments in different parts of the world, have come together, and they have been investing a lot of money. Energy transition is needed to control CO2 emission, because the emission per year has been increasing, because we have a high demand of energy in each year. For example, the global energy demand has been increasing over the past decade or more than a decade, and this is a graph which I took from the internet that shows some form of that upward trajectory. I also have stats of CO2 emissions per petroleum product. For example, gasoline emits like 2.31 kilogram per liter CO2 emission, kilogram per liter. Then we have also bitumen or LPG or jet fuel. So here we can see a flavor of which type of products emits what type of emits how much of CO2, and then you can estimate that. You can get also the information from ChatGPT, and this one I collected from ChatGPT, so that if we have that how much kilogram of CO2 or how much liter of consumption or a kg of consumption, then we can convert it into CO2 emission. I have for US country that the future projection, like demand for the normal or the fuel or the diesel or the petrol products are 24% less. Renewables are increasing. Nuclear is also increasing. Coal and oil is also like 70% less than projected. 24% less demand. What I meant to say here is that, for example, earlier the bulb earlier towards energy efficient products like intelligent bulbs or intelligent lighting systems or intelligent washing machines. There the consumption was very high, but with advent of technology, the energy utilization in each of these electronic products has gone down with higher output. So the aim is that to reduce the energy demand, but also use use the energy for the work that is intended to be done, or maybe more work that is intended. So moving forward, energy transition depends on geography, resource availability, population, how much money it has, because energy transition is not an easy thing, because for example, if now I am living in the Netherlands, and here there is Shell. If Shell has to do 100% energy transition, then it means that all the existing crude oil downstream plants that is there for processing of crude to its final product, like propane, butane, or fuel oil, like ethanol, or we can also say like diesel, or any kind of output that it is creating, it has to stop. Those energy assets have to be sold, and then money has to be invested in wind and solar. So there will be loss of jobs also, because for example the thermal power plants, the coal which is there earlier in 1940s or 1950s, when India or US or Europe did a transition, so all the thermal power plants were shut down. That also created a lot of job loss and a lot of anxiety among people. Then people with crude and LNG sector, they have different set of skills. So then energy transition is not a cheap affair. It's a very like a money consuming or capital consuming affair. Lot of investment, billions of dollars of investment has to be done, and also people should be ready to pay. For example, the electricity produced from crude or coal versus the electricity produced from renewables. Although we can say that they are almost at par, but people should also be ready to pay for the electricity and also should be able to accept it. And politicians also have to promote it. So this was, these are my notes, which I thought just to give a flavor of what is happening. At least from my experience, energy emissions have been divided into three parts, at least in Shell and many other companies in like BP, Exxon in all over the Netherlands. There is scope 1 and scope 2 emissions, and scope 1, scope 2 emissions are from the assets or from the delivery of the products. Like for example, the crude is coming, that is being processed and then being supplied, then transported to the retailers. So that is scope 1 and scope 2. Scope 3 is then the products are being sold and used by the end users. Then that is scope 3, which needs a lot of research because those products have to be more efficient. So overall, my understanding is that the energy transition is a massive and a complex system, a complex thing to do, and the transition has to be done from the already existing optimized system to a new robust process where we are able to work through it. And then also keeping in mind that there are a lot of flaws with the with the energy transmission and conversion. So moving forward, for the data engineers, to get information about the consumption or demand or supply per country per hour or real time, there are different data sources, and these data sources I got or suggestion was made by Mr. Kang He, and also some of the materials I have taken from his lectures. So IEA, International Energy Agency, you can go through there, you can download his CSV. If you can build a REST API to the website client, then all well and good. You can update your Power BI, etc., etc. EIA, then WEO, our world data, in data, etc., etc. Then carbon related data, you can get it from CO2 Information Analysis Center, EDGAR, Carbon Budget Project, Carbon Monitor, etc., etc. Well, Mr. Kang He told about an energy trilemma, which is nothing but three things: trilemma in energy security, equity, and environmental sustainability. Well, security in the sense that the supply has to be continuous and sustainable, because then we have power at homes 24 hours, then we have water we can purify the water, etc., etc. There should be energy equity, because if electricity is produced by a country, then to all its citizens, the supply has to be without any partiality. It has to be equal for everyone. And then at the end, we have to also take into account for the production, we have to take into account sustainability of the environment, because CO2 emissions will increase the temperature of the climate, which in turn will reduce in greenhouse gas, or many other problems in the climate to the environment. Well, to bring things in perspective, as I mentioned here that the demand of the energy is increasing. So what do you mean by joule? For example, to make you understand, for example, if one car runs 200 km, then it consumes around 200 megajoule. So joule is the unit of energy, and then one liter of gasoline is 32 megajoule, and solar. So sun gives us the per hour, the quantum of energy that we receive from sun, and if we can harvest it, then it can supply electricity to the whole earth like 24 hours, and also to the future generations without any problem. But then because of the rotation of the earth and many other factors, it's very difficult to have solar energy extraction to its limiter potential. We have solar cells, but then there are certain limitations, and then we have to go into the technology to see what is happening. Moving forward, the aim is that at the end we need to electrify, we need to reduce the consumption of fossil fuel, and to divert our attention towards electricity. If we can electrify everything, then the CO2 emission can go down, and obviously the energy mix. What do you mean by energy mix? For example, the Netherlands, for example, let's say 20% is fossil fuel, 10% is coal, 30% is renewables. Then there can be other form of energy generation, or energy sectors, or mix that is available for to create electricity, or to keep the country running. So that is energy mix. And then I also wanted to say that if we are going for transition, then there has to be value chain by value chain, and make the net zero possible. Net zero means how much your energy, how much carbon dioxide you are emitting to the environment, that much also you are extracting from the environment. So it's net zero. It's not that we are making the CO2 emission as null, but no, CO2 will be emitted. Right now, what is the level? That much, the same amount that is emitted to the atmosphere, the same amount is also extracted from the atmosphere. Okay, so that was all about the intro, where I spoke about energy transition, demand, which is increasing, some flavor about how much each product, petroleum product, emits CO2, then energy justice, to be like that for data engineers, data sources, some to bring things in perspective, the units. And then overall aim is to have is to reduce CO2 emission, and for that we need to change our energy mix of each country based on the resources, based on the population, based on the demand, based on the technology, etc., etc. Okay, now I want to little bit change the topic towards why, what, how, the three questions which is very popular in and to make the presentation very focused. Why we are doing energy transition, what are the impacts, and what are we gonna do, and where are the sectors that we are gonna do, and how we are gonna do the energy transition. I want to focus the discussion towards that area, where why we are doing it, because it is the demand of the hour. In Arctic, the glaciers are melting. There is increase in level of sea. The temperatures across multiple countries are increasing. Impact on plants itself, Amazon forests, which were extracting the CO2 from the atmosphere, have now converted itself into that CO2 emitters. So what plant does is that it takes it does carbon capture, and does extracts the CO2 from the atmosphere, and then keeps it. But now, because the CO2 emission, because there is deforestation happening and lot things happening now, after that there is deforestation, the CO2 that was captured by the plant is now again emitted to the atmosphere. So Amazon itself has become a carbon dioxide emitter now. So there is a lot. There are two parts to why the energy transition is needed, where there are two parts. The first part is the political part, where the US Paris Agreement comes into play, and second part is the budget. So there are two pillars, or two benchmarks, or two aims that needs to be, or mandatory things that needs to be followed by multiple countries of the world. So what is Paris Agreement? The Paris Agreement commitment is that targets of a 50% reduction of greenhouse gas emission from 2005 levels. So 2005 is considered as the benchmark, and then 50% reduction from 2005 levels should be like a strict target for hundreds of countries, or all the countries in the world, in developing and developed country itself. So what were the 2005 levels? I gathered information from Copilot, and in 2005 European Union was emitting around 5.1 gigaton of CO2. United States alone itself 7.2 gigaton, and China was 5.1 gigaton of CO2 emission. CO2 in kg, sorry, it's in ton, 5.1 gigaton. We can convert it into kg. 1 ton is equal to 100 kilograms. Well, climate change has a big impact, and biodiversity is connected. As we know, Amazon, rather than a carbon sink, have slowly started to be a carbon emitter. So we live here now, and conditions are changing rapidly. It's fundamentally intertwined, and how it impacts us. So we care so much of the current. I have to live now for another 30, 40 years or 50 years. So I have to live a healthy life. So for me, it is very necessary that the climate or the air that I take in inside my body is normal enough, or is okay enough, so that I can survive. Otherwise I will have all kind of health issues like lung issues, etc., etc. So one is why we are doing energy transition is we have to adhere to US Paris Agreement commitment, and second one is the carbon budget. Carbon budget is nothing but maximum amount of CO2 that can be emitted to the atmosphere. Like each country has, as I mentioned here, that each country has their CO2 that they are emitting. So maximum temperature that can they emit, but carbon budget often links to the temperature targets or limiting the temperature targets to 1.5 degree and 2 degree centigrade. We don't want the climate temperature to increase from 1.5 or 2 degree centigrade pre-industrial levels. And what do I mean by pre-industrial levels? Pre-industrial levels refers to nothing but the time like 1850 to 1900 degrees 1900 year, where there was a certain amount of where the certain climate temperature was certain, and that considering that 1900s as the benchmark, that climate temperature shouldn't increase more than 1.5 degree or 2 degree centigrade. At pre-industrial average global temperature was around 13.7 degree. So we shouldn't go above 1.5 2 degrees centigrade above 13.7 degree. Remember that. So 1.5 degrees centigrade above 13.7 degrees Celsius is 15.2 degree, and 2 degrees around 15.7 degree. We shouldn't. So first of all, we shouldn't increase the CO2 emission from 2005 levels, and we shouldn't increase the temperature from 1850 to 1900 year levels, which was around 13.7 degrees centigrade. So this is needed, this is mandatory. But though now there comes the discussion about energy equity or developing countries, developed countries, it will be very impartial to say developing countries to stop developing, because development brings CO2 emission. Development needs energy. Development needs technology, and technology does carbon dioxide emission. So we cannot tell or we should tell to developing nations to be more energy efficient, and also the developed nations who are already emitting a lot of CO2 emission to little bit control. So there has to be balance, there has to be agreement between people, but people are the main problems here. So in that sense, rather than controlling CO2 emission, there is a concept introduced as net zero emission. It means each country has a responsibility of net zero. It means how much CO2 they are emitting, that much CO2 they have to also capture it through carbon credits, or through doing any kind of solutions that is available in the market, nature-based solution, land-based solution, using alternate fuels, hydrogen, etc. But we will discuss in the how part. So I already told you that the presentation has 3 parts, that is why, which we are discussing why we need energy transition, what are the things that we have to take into account for energy transition, and then how we are going to implement, or how things can be done. So this was all about why we have to do energy transition, because of part 1 and part 2. So that is all settled. Then coming to the what part. For the what part, I took McKinsey. There is a nice article of McKinsey that everyone can read. I will just quickly open the McKinsey. There was a post And this article, everyone can go through this in PDF format, and then they can see McKinsey. It's a well-known excuse me. It's a well-known consultancy firm, and based on their research, they have identified 25 physical challenges. What needs to be changed? So they have identified a couple of sectors, and they have divided into 25 physical challenges. Energy transition needs physical transformation. For example, the existing plants have to be converted into renewables. So there is a capital cost involved. Something has to be broken down, something has to be demolished, something has to be sold, something has to be set up, some new technology has to be implemented, new softwares, new skills have to be built, people, etc., etc., education, etc., etc. So they have identified 7 sectors, that is power sector, mobility sector, industry sector, building sector, raw material sector, hydrogen sector, carbon energy. So they have identified 7 sectors, and in 7 sectors there are challenges, and they have categorized those challenges into 3 different levels: level 1, level 2, level 3. Well, to be more concrete, level 1 challenges are like funding and working. Those there is already technology, but there is lack of sufficient funding, and it's already going on in progress, but it's a bit slow, because we have to attend the part 1 Paris 1 agreement by 2030. So today is 2026, so another 4 years left. So level 1 challenge is about funding and working faster. Level 2 challenge is that there are fundamental bottlenecks. There is scale up, there is deployment needed. For example, like let's say hydrogen plants. In India, like there will be few hydrogen plants, or 1 or 2. It has to scale up. Then we need alternate technologies, or alternate something, or alternate new couple of new power plants or nuclear power plants, green hydrogen plants, etc., etc. And level 3 is nothing but the technology is not there, or technology is scarce. There is deployment yet to happen. So they have, it's a very nice, I think they have made the current challenges or categorized the current challenges in a very nice way. And level 1 are the challenges that require more faster progress. Level 2 are for deployment, and level 3 are that there is things not yet done or yet to be done. So I will go to my notes, and yeah, as I mentioned, 7 domains and physical challenges, and then we have then a set of 3 what we call enablers to scale up. We need to scale up in raw materials like lithium, rare earth metals, inputs into many emissions and technology, scale of alternate fuels like hydrogen, decarbonize existing oil and gas. And then also the question is not just transforming the energy system, but actually also thinking about things like carbon energy reduction through carbon capture and efficiency. Energy transition scenario has some combination in 7 domains and need to be transformed. So as I mentioned, they have really categorized, and then each physical challenge can be taken up by multiple companies, and then they can invest, and they can entrepreneurs can take up this work and start building up on that. Well, energy transition is not only the physical challenges, but also there is the other aspects, which is governance, senior leadership. More discussion has to happen, budget, continuous thinking, time that it needs, restructuring. More information has to be gathered, whether it is needed or not, stakeholder management. We have to take a corporation and holistic approach, like a total holistic approach in this area. Legal frameworks have to be done, education, less protest, etc., etc. So energy transition itself is very massive, and it's a huge thing with lot of investment and lot of things. We have to take everyone into account. We have to work together as a whole, because if people don't invest, then we don't have money, and energy transition is a costly affair. So that is what I wanted to say in the what part. So we discussed the why part, and in the why part we discussed the intro, the why part, where we discussed about part 1 and part 2 of why energy transition has to be done. Then the what part, where we can give our focus, what are the things can be done. So just refer this material, and I think, or they read this paper, then I think you will get to know more about what's happening. And also I think the courses that I'm doing right now, these are the courses, so this also is very helpful in gathering a lot of knowledge. Then why, what, then how are we gonna implement, or how are the things or what are the possible things that can be done to bring in the energy transition. Well, as I mentioned, we have to see the energy system holistically. It's a really complex system. So we need to implement CCA, carbon capture storage. Well, I will go into the current solutions one by one. There is carbon compensation projects, which is nothing but nature-based solutions. For example, wetlands, forests, plant more trees, create more wastelands, do right agriculture like biocar for soil amendment, restore trees in croplands, improve nutrient management, improve rice cultivation, sustainable grazing. Then blue carbon, then also like bring wind and solar, different kind of nature-based solutions that are existing. Then we come to the hydrogen-based solution. Hydrogen-based solution means generating hydrogen or using hydrogen as a fuel. Well, there are three ways where hydrogen can be produced. So that is the gray hydrogen, blue hydrogen, and the green hydrogen. Green hydrogen, where the input, well, hydrogen is produced by breaking down water through the process of electrolysis into hydrogen and oxygen. Well, that electrolysis process, because we use electrolysis as an engine to produce hydrogen, the electrolysis process needs input as energy, because electrolysis is like we can search online what is electrolysis. I will not go into detail. For electrolysis, we can use electricity from wind or solar, and though input doesn't have CO2 emission, because wind and solar do not have CO2 emission, the hydrogen that is produced is like also CO2 free. So then that is why it is called green hydrogen, because it's a green way of producing hydrogen. Then we have blue hydrogen, where we use natural gas. So gray and blue hydrogen use natural gas, and natural gas creates, for electrolysis we use natural gas. So natural gas also emits CO2. That CO2 which is emitted is captured under the ground through CCS method, and that is why it is called blue hydrogen, because it emits CO2 but then CO2 is captured. In gray hydrogen, there is it's a cheapest form of investment, and thus use natural gas, let CO2 go to the atmosphere, and then we get hydrogen, though it emits CO2, so it's called gray hydrogen. I found a very nice very nice article about it, and this is where I gathered all my information. So this is the article where I took the photographs and I took all the data. Okay, so then what is CCU, carbon capture units? Well, carbon capture units are land-based solution where we convert the CO2 into liquid format, and then then the CO2 is captured in aquifers or inside under the ground. Slow with the advent of years how the year time is passing, in Netherlands there is a big craze about hydrogen plants and creating green hydrogen. So this is kind of an article where in this article only I found that about the information about different companies and what kind of targets that are being, or very ambitious targets are being set up to create to generate electricity through hydrogen. Moving forward, then I already discussed about carbon capture storage, which is nothing but a land-based solution. Then as in McKinsey research paper they have mentioned about different sectors. So I have also taken building and the cement sector, where CO2 emission can be reduced through different kind of techniques, or techniques by applying different kind of techniques. I found a nice research kit where they are mentioning about clinker is made in the clean temperatures. This clinker is then means the process of cement production, and then what kind of fuels can be used in these plants. For example, you can use hydrogen to produce CO2. You can use natural gas. You can use oxyfuel. You can use renewables to to produce cement. We can use also mix ashes in the cements to create less emitting high robust end products. So there are different techniques that can be applied in CO2 emitting energy sector, in CO2 emitting plants, cement plants, where improvements can be done. This is the research paper which I was talking about. Then moving forward, there are also how portion in biogas plants, where to reduce CO2. Sugar plants are high emitter of CO2. They use the waste product, which is like a pulp, and then turn into biogas. This is also in many countries they use this technique to bring in net zero emissions. So we discussed why, what, how. Like why there is energy transition, it is what is the requirement of it, and what are the rules are in place, and how it is being done now. So these are the things we discussed. Moving forward, I just wanted to tell you about the many financial terms. These financial terms are discussed in Mr. Gang He's video, where I took some ideas, like for example, to bring in energy transition, we have to invest, and for investment we have to set up companies, we have to set up infrastructure, etc., etc. Then there has to be done evaluation. There has to be seen that whether we are earning profits or not, because without profit nobody is going to invest in your company. So there are certain techniques. First is simple payback, discounting present future value calculation, uniform payments, capital recovery factor, LCOE, and etc., etc. There are some formulas that I have mentioned, like capital recovery factor is what, and then growth rate, how it can be calculated. E1 is the E1 minus E0 by E0, whereas energy intensity is the total energy used to produce unit, like 1 kilowatt hour. Energy productivity equal to reciprocal energy intensity. So there are a lot of KPIs that can be used to measure that the in energy transition that we are going to do by creating infrastructures or doing investment, how profitable it is and how lucrative it is. Then total demand can be calculated by activity effect, structural effect, and energy intensity effect. You can just look for this terminology in Google and just gain some information. There is also a concept called learning curve, where the more the production of electricity or energy, double your capacity, then means if you double your capacity, then the cost reduces. So if, for example, if I have one solar panel, then it creates, suppose let's say 1 kilowatt hour. Then if I maybe 1 kilowatt hour is costing a lot, if I have to sell it, then because of my capital expenditure and maintenance cost, but if I double my production or double my capacity, then maybe I can sell it for a cheaper rate. So that is called learning curve. That is also a KPI that I found in multiple videos. And what drives the learning curve is the efficiency, material cost, plant size, yield, improvements in technology, etc., etc. Moving forward, also there is use of KPI called DCF analysis, and DCF analysis is nothing but for energy transition project, cash flow is represented as expected cash flow. The decision is always forward basis, and the assumption is the assessment is world without a particular energy transition project versus the world with a particular transition project. If without a transition project and with a transition project, that is The DCF analysis takes that into account. Decisions are made from full value chain, and revenue comes from production of different group, cost, capex, and for a DCF analysis, I will suggest that let's check. Let's ask ChatGPT about what DCF analysis is discounted cash flow analysis. And regarding this, I already mentioned here regarding this. I didn't mention it here, but okay. So this is also one of the discounted cash flow analysis is also one of the technique to do to take into account before doing an investment. You just cannot do billions of investment without doing whether there is profitable or not. But then the interesting factor is that migrating from let's say BP, British Petroleum, migrating from fossil fuel to renewable has its own demerit, because then it will create impact on the valuation. If any company meets its GHG target by 2030, then there is a high probability that the value of the company goes down by 10%, because then the energy mix of your company changes, and renewable, because fossil fuels is a highly capital investment infrastructure projects, and then the yield is also quite fast and high, but in renewables it takes time. What matters is how much, given the business you are in, and how much you distribute the dividend to the market, and that is what driving the value of the business in absolute terms. If the dividend is shared less, then competitors value your company less. Hence, spend less capital and strong balance sheet helps us to grow further. Because of the slowness in returns from the renewables, the returns are very slow. So then that is why and there is high volatility in renewables also, because the production is not consistent and we cannot do a prediction on it. So that's why there is an affordability challenge, and there is a valuation problem with doing this energy transition. So this is also one of the insight that we have to take into account while doing these investments. Obviously, cost to transition I also discussed, because it's very much capital intense investments also to do energy transition, because a lot of dismantling has to be done, a lot of assets have to be sold, skills also have to be increased. Well, nowadays mathematicians create a mathematical model to do a scenario analysis, to do sensitivity analysis, and best practices are there are many models are in place. So just go through the models, and also in Python we have this one I wanted to share, electricity capacity model check PSA. That is a very nice one. And capacity expansion models are there, and then we have also switch model. I think in this kind of models are also available in open market, in the open internet. I think I wanted to show, but it will take a lot of time, but okay. Then optimization has to be done to multiple power sources, and modeling also should take into account spatial, temporal, time steps, time horizon, generating units, research, a lot of factors that has to be taken into models. These models are very data hungry, and the data has to be fed. And with AI, I think creating these models can be a bit easy, but you need a good mathematical skills to create those models and do a kind of energy transition scenario analysis. Not only finance, not only modeling, but also there is people as a part of in the whole energy transition system. The behavior, because in the current scenario we have regulation plus liberalization. It's like a mix. It's not fully deregulated, it's not fully liberalized, or it's not fully controlled, or there is no monarchy here, or no like one person controlling the whole power generation part. So the pricing is also, there is a cap because of past scams or anything. So there is also a pricing cap on selling of electricity or any kind of petroleum products or crude related products or fossil related products. Well, trading and things are slowly getting digitized, so people also are more informed about what are the prices. They can do a comparative analysis. They can check everything online, and also there is different type of markets being set up for seller and buyer. So I don't want to go into the details, but overall I want to say that people's behavior also has to be changed. People have to understand that we don't have to go see the short term, but also have to see the long term. So because for renewables the costs are little bit higher, but to do energy transition now we have to pay a little bit higher to buy those electricity from the renewables. So that is also a factor. One very interesting factor that has been observed is the theory of rebound. For example, if there is scarcity of electricity, then people tend to adjust. But when there is abundance of electricity, then people tend to use also a lot. For example, if I am watching a movie for 1 hour now, and I know that 1 hour is costing me €2, but if I have to pay only 1 cent for electricity per hour, then all of my lamps or all of my ACs or heaters will be continuously on, because it doesn't cost me a lot. So there is a theory of rebound where if people are given the opportunity, if energy efficiency improves, then people tend to use more energy. They tend to live a lavish life. They tend to have a change in behavior also. So this is a very interesting theory that I wanted to share also, and this is all in all the overall thing that I wanted to share. And then further there we can gain more insights into value of like carbon capture storage as a system itself, because do we need to CCS? Because if renewables, we are investing in renewables, then why need to we do CCS now? Because in future, in next 5 years, maybe CCS is not needed anymore. So means what kind of solutions that we need to implement now and in next 5 years, because there is also demolition involved, there is capital investment now and future capital investment. So what is the best mix and what should be done now? That is a big puzzle to be solved, but it has to be taken in a holistic approach through modeling, through mathematics, and then showcase the world is that, okay, let's think about the next 5 years and then do an investment. We already know that after 5 years there will be some demolition or there is technology change, and then we can so all those factors have to be taken into account. We already discussed that renewables have slow high installation and capital cost, little maintenance cost, but the returns are also very slow. There is a cannibalization effect, which means that refers to a situation where renewable energy producers are effectively reduce their own potential revenues by generating a lot of electricity. At the same time, they lower the market price for their own product, because now when it's free, the energy production is free, maintenance is free, so then people can sell it free. But then if they sell it for less or free, then there is cannibalization effect, which means the revenues are less. So there is a balance is needed there. Overall it comes down to actions to be taken. Well, we can also decide that no, don't take any action, don't do any investment. But then if we don't take any investment, don't do any action, then CO2 emission will happen. There is no net zero happening, and then the temperature is going up. Also, government is now providing subsidies, and in future they will also reduce down on the subsidies, because subsidies cannot go on for life. That is money from the people's pocket. People have to understand change in behavior has to happen, and we can create carbon credit areas, and also we can do further innovation through energy tokenization, where we are not paying through dollars, but we are paying through tokens. Overall, guys, this is what I wanted to share. Have a nice day, guys. Maybe I spoke fast, but energy as a whole, transition as a whole, and if you have to understand the entire holistic approach, a lot of things have to be taken into account. Good modeling has to be done, and obviously it's a investment. At the end, it's all about money and the behavior and the mentality. Have a nice day, guys, and we'll see each other in the next video. Goodbye.